When will they wear down? Steve Cleveland's of the opinion that they won't. These are young guys, and they can do it, and it's 2 games a week, and they can handle it. Maybe in the conference tournament it's different, but you got to win 2 games before you get to play the 3rd game in the conference tournament anyway, so cross that bridge when you get to it. UCF comes in. Huge game for BYU. I think the thing for BYU is who's going to pick up the slack with Saunders gone. And we saw that they got some scoring from a couple guys who they haven't been getting scoring from. You know, Davis stepped up, Boscovich stepped up. They combined for 30 points. DeBonce is just a machine. He keeps flying. And after the game, his coach could not have been more complimentary. Kevin Young was just loved the offense, loved the rebounding, and loved the defense, gave him a tough defensive assignment, and he held the opponent to 1 of 5 shooting. And Kevin Young really rolled it out there, just really complimented A.J. DeBonce, which I think A.J. earned all of that. I always wonder about coaches giving big compliments in February because they still have to fire guys up in March. And I've noticed over time some coaches like to withhold that. On the other hand, players know what they know, and they're smart. They're probably, I think with all the video and the analytics and the fact that everybody seems to have an individual coach now as staffs get bigger, I think players are smarter than ever. I think that having a high basketball IQ is a bigger advantage than ever because there are now people to send you all that info if you can process it and use it during a game. And it looks like AJ's the kind of guy who can do that, right? And the best players can. The guys who can't now kind of get left behind. In a way, they didn't get left behind 20 or 30 years ago because there wasn't as much information being provided. Steve Cleveland went into just the sheer number of bodies. You know, when you got a staff of 3, 4, or 5 people, you're putting out fires every day. And now everybody's got a development coach, a mentor, essentially, and they can take a very different tone. You can good cop, bad cop your way to all of this. And, the mentor can get in Boop's ear and it's just like, hey, if you want to stay on the floor, rebound. You keep grabbing rebounds, he can't afford to take you out. But we have the ball. We're very good. Don't let them have the ball. It's not a complicated game. They don't score when they don't have the ball. We might score when we have the ball. Go get the ball. And Boop's out there getting 10 rebounds in 17 minutes. I mean, that's otherworldly. That's like there's a second Superman cape, only in that one phase of the game, whereas DeBonce was just across the board. And afterwards, Kevin Young, we always go to shooting percentage, 3-point percentage, and he was loudly proclaiming to anyone who would listen, hey, won that game on the backboards and lack of turnovers. Iowa State feasts off the turnovers. That's their plan. That's their style. That's their go-to. We're going to defend, we're going to force turnovers, and we're going to run. Well, they were held to 69 points, which is a very low total in basketball these days. And it was because they couldn't get out in transition, because they couldn't force turnovers. The Cougars just didn't cough it up. They had 11 turnovers. Iowa State had 10. No. Iowa State's here for, 18 and 7, that kind of stuff. Those are numbers they're looking for, 11 and 10. They have to have an advantage in that phase of the game. And DeBonce only had 2 turnovers and Rob Wright only had 1. And those guys have the ball in their hands when they're on the floor, and they never came off. They both played 40 minutes. So as Kevin Young pointed out, 13 assists to 3 turnovers. That's their combined assist-turnover ratio, 4-1. In college basketball, that is excellent. That is almost off the charts. Now they got to do it again. They did win by 10, so there's a little bit of a cushion. But here comes UCF. Not going to be a 1-2-3 seed like Iowa State, but still a good team. So it'll be interesting to see what to get out of it. The other thing that Kevin Young said in his postgame that I thought was really interesting and applies to the Jazz. We're playing in Houston tonight. We'll get to that in a second. He talked about, hey, you got to be silver lining guy. I mean, the loss of Saunders is a net loss, but there are positives. You're losing his leadership. He's the heart and soul of the team. It's hard to, that's like catching fog. It's hard to do, right? But you just know it's true. Guys follow him. He's a vet. He's been in the program forever. And you're losing a scorer. You're losing a 3-point shooter, right? But you're losing a guy who'll really stick his nose in there and defend. So you're losing all that stuff. What do you get? He said, well, we got size. We got taller. We got longer with the guys who play now. And there's more minutes for these bigger players. And he said, when you're that long, this is one thing you learn in the NBA real quick. When you're that long, like it really helps you immediately at the defensive end of the floor. You stick out your hands, you're covering more space, you're deflecting more passes. That's for starters. There's a lot of benefits. And I think that applies to the Jazz. That's something he brings from the NBA, and it's certainly true in the college game. And I think we're going to see it with the Jazz next year. I don't know, but I think it's more likely than not that they'll work out whatever the financial problems are with Kessler and he'll be back. It could go sideways, but I think it's more likely it works out, even if they have to match the offer because he's a restricted free agent. So you get Kessler and Jackson and Markkanen, and you get 3 7-footers out there. Now, we'll see how they balance it. If they always want to have 2 on the floor, then you don't get to have all 3 together as much. You're going to have to rest guys at some point. But I just think we're going to see with that kind of size and length, the Jazz, who have been a terrible defensive team through this tanking rebuild. And I get that happens for multiple reasons. I was talking with Tim Lacombe once about how bad the defense is. And he goes, hey, once you make practice optional, how many guys show up? Once the meeting at work is optional, how many people show up? They know they're tanking. And they know guys get paid in the NBA based on their stats. And it's more fun to work on offense and defense. And they want to lose anyway. And now you got a bad defensive team, and it's young and inexperienced, and you're surprised? That's a solid point by Tim. Well, the meeting's not going to be optional next year. You're going to have to show up. And so I think the combination of that and the combination of that size and length is going to help them a lot at the defensive end of the floor and help them win a lot of middling games, play in the middle of the league, mediocre teams, in the grind. And it's hard for other teams to bring energy, but the Jazz will always bring their size. On a night when everybody's legs and, everybody's tired and everybody's playing 4 games a week or whatever, and it's the dog days of the season, the Jazz will still be tall, long. Maybe the athleticism won't be on full display if everybody's off a half step, but that happens to everybody in the league, and they'll still be a really big team. And Kevin Young referenced that the Cougars are now a bigger team with Boscovich playing more minutes and Moops out there playing more minutes. Saunders isn't the biggest guy, clearly. So maybe that's something the Cougars can lean into. On the whole, it's a loss, but maybe they can find a positive in there. And if Moop can go out and get 10 rebounds in 17 minutes, can A.J. DeBonsa sustain 40 minutes, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists? There's been a lot of back and forth and, favoring the local guys, and I see him every night, and I don't see everybody every night. But you can't see Peterson every night because he only plays about half the nights. I don't see how you take Peterson over DeBonsa, especially as DeBonsa cranks it up like this. Man, the competitiveness, his ability to improve month to month, to think that this isn't the ceiling. Think how good he was in December. And now we know for a fact December was not the ceiling. January was better. February's been better. The rebounding's improving. The defending's improving. And the best players are bucket machines. We know that. But really, the best players also have that desire and that want to at the other end of the court. Go back and watch Michael Jordan defend. Go back and watch Kobe defend. Watch LeBron when he was in his prime really dialed in. How much ground that guy could cover. Don't look at him now. He's 40, and I don't know that he's really dialed in. He's dialed in, but is he really dialed in? Go watch playoff LeBron with chase down blocks. That's the attitude you got to have at the other end of the court. And, I don't think A.J. wants to be a good pro. I think he wants to be a great pro. If you're going to be a great pro, you got to be at the other end of the court. So maybe you push those buttons and say, show them what you got. You want to be the number 1 pick, and you want to be a great pro. And the things that you need to do to make that happen are the same things that can keep powering BYU. That was a heck of a win against Iowa State. I said it earlier. When you get in there with the selection committee, they're going to be arguing against BYU at the start, right? I mean, BYU's not going to be a 1 seed. They're not going to be a 2. There's not going to be a 3. There's going to be a point, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, where they're going to start someone's going to start arguing for BYU. Hey, this is where the Cougars need to go. They're up next. They're the next team we plug in. And somebody else will probably be arguing for some other school, right? And the thing that person, whoever it is on the committee who's arguing for BYU, is going to say is, look at that Iowa State win. I mean, we already ranked Iowa State, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Saunders is out, and look what they did. Now, they need to stack some more wins next to that. Keep stacking W's. Here comes UCF, and then it's off to the road. And Cincinnati and West Virginia, and travel is hard. North Carolina's got a really good team, and they're also missing a key player. Yeah, they went to SMU and lost. They went to Stanford and lost. They went to Cal and lost. Think going to Cincinnati and West Virginia is going to be easy? West Virginia beat Kansas at home. Cincinnati went to Kansas and won. It's going to be hard. BYU can do it. It's going to be hard. But there's way more hope after watching that Iowa State game. We talked a little bit about Utah State. It was right there for the taking. Beat Nevada, go to San Diego with a 2-game lead, and knowing you just have to split with San Diego State and New Mexico down the stretch, and you're going to win the league. Well, they didn't get it done in the second half against Nevada. They had the lead. They had the ball. They had control of the game. But those last 10 minutes, first, they could not rebound at the defensive end of the floor. Just way too many offensive rebounds for Nevada and long possessions. And Nevada did hit a couple of tough shots in there for sure. Give them credit for that. And then give Nevada credit for the free throw defense because Utah State missed some big free throws at the end of that game. And Templin, who I think that guy's been playing great for them. But, man, those missed free throws, he had to get on the bus feeling awful. Because those were, you could see it on his face. It cut to a tight shot after he missed the front end of a 1-on-1 in the final minute. And it just, So Nevada comes back, gets the win, and now Utah State's got a 1-game lead over New Mexico and San Diego State. The Aggies go to San Diego State Wednesday. Then San Diego State goes to play the Lobos in the pit. And then at the end of the year, the Lobos are up here to play the Aggies. So we're coming down the last couple of weeks here, and we got 3 big games left in the Mountain West to see who wins the regular season title before they go their separate ways. Well, New Mexico will stay put, and San Diego State and Utah State will leave. All right, that's all the stuff we've been talking about this morning. As far as the injury report tonight, I've seen Keontae George listed as both questionable and out with the ankle. So I think the questionable is the new news and the out is the updated news. I think that's where we're going with that. Lauri Markkanen is probable with illness, and Yusuf Nurkic is out with a nose injury, which we can all giggle and laugh about. But I suppose if you're, if you've broken your nose or hurt your nose or whatever you've done, and then you get hit by a stray elbow or arm in the face, or a ball ricochets off your face occasionally, so they'll leave him out because they need the L's. And they're in Houston. Houston's a good team. I think Houston's second tier. They're not the title tier. That's for Oklahoma City and San Antonio. And maybe you could put Detroit and Denver up there, but I can't go more than 4. Now you got another 3 or 4 teams with Cleveland and New York and Boston and Houston. They're pretty good teams, but you're asking them to win 2 or 3 really hard playoff series, and you just don't think they can pull it off. Can they win 1 or 2? Sure. And maybe some of them, especially over in the East, they get an easy one first, but they still got to win 3 more to be the champ. Hard to see that happening. But Houston is a tough test, and I expect they will handle the Jazz tonight. It's a streaming game only. It's on Peacock. If you have that, NBC's streaming platform, Peacock, you're good to go. There's no K-Jazz broadcast tonight, no Bowler, no Thurl. All right, DJ and PK. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
One of Adam Silver's biggest problems is that he is not consistent at all, and he sets all these crazy precedents that he doesn't live up to, or he sets a precedent he could never live up to. He can't sit there and manage Will Hardy's lineup.
If you want to say conduct detrimental to the NBA, that could be every single night in the NBA with what happens with rotations or who's available and who's not.